It seemed like ages since Humankind's Lucy OpenDev beta test ended. It was arguably the largest beta that Amplitude had put out since they started, and that, not coincidentally, created a very large volume of feedback on the game. While Lucy OpenDev was a great success that showed off multiple eras and so many civilizations, there was a lot of constructive criticism to be had. If you'd like to see a video dedicated to that constructive criticism, check out my critique to the devs video in the top right corner of your screen. Fast forward to the beginning of April, and Amplitude dropped the inevitable news that Humankind has been delayed until August 17th. While personally disappointed, I know the community as a whole supports the idea that things really needed worked on to make Humankind the best game that it can be. Plus, it meant that we at least get another OpenDev to see how the game has progressed. What's better is that the release delay statement on Amplitude's Games Together site also detailed the areas of improvement and development that they have been working on these last few months since Lucy OpenDev, and that, my friends, is the purpose of this video. I want to go over the areas that Amplitude saw a need to work on and how that might affect the game. This will be an informational/opinion piece, so be prepared for both. Before we get into it though, a few things to mention. First, I do not have any recent coverage of Humankind outside of what Amplitude has released. For this reason, footage will not match up with what I am talking about. It's just there so you aren't staring at a few images over and over again. Second, if you have yet to pre-order the game, check out the Nexus GG link below. It would be an amazing show of support for this channel. Lastly, whenever the next OpenDev is, assume that Twitch drops will be a thing again, where watching a Twitch streamer play the game will eventually unlock the ability for you to play the OpenDev yourself without pre-ordering. My channel was one of the few that had Twitch drops last time, so it's safe to say that I will hopefully have them again. You can find my channel on the screen with a link down below as well, so drop a follow, allowing you to know when I'm live next to catch some drops. With all that out of the way, let's look into what's changed since Humankind's Lucy OpenDev. Undoubtedly one of the biggest areas of my critique in my video, and confirmed by players of all spectrums, was pacing and balancing. The OpenDev was full of exploitations that players utilized to steamroll the map throughout every era, and it's not surprising that this piece of the game sees the largest notes section in the delayed dev blog. We'll begin with the Neolithic era exploit. In the game, you would be able to split amoeba style your beginner settlers once they hit a certain amount of food found on the map. This could be done repeatedly every time you reached that threshold. Combined with an easily obtainable influence mechanic, it was extremely easy to paint the map with outposts in just the Neolithic era and/or overwhelm other factions with your tons of units right from the start. Amplitude is looking into how to balance both food and influence so that doesn't happen again, and this alone is a huge step forward towards overall pacing. The growth model system is another big area of critique for myself, where I never had to build a single agricultural building in one of my campaigns, but I still always had more than enough food for a surplus. A balance pass that still focuses on surplus food is being worked on actively, and I hope that something along the lines of scaling food requirements based on population is part of that balance pass. Resources across the board are being looked at since Lucy finished. Science was too easy to steamroll, and as such, costs are being reassessed. Money and influence are seeing income and expense balancing, where we might see costs go up, as well as the potential for income to get nerfed in ways. Like with food, I would not mind if production costs increased every time a certain building is repeatedly built, or if it costs exponentially more money to speed up buildings. Stability in the later eras is another resource in a sort of abstract way, and it was easy to ignore it as the eras progressed, so it will also get a look over to create a balance that won't frustrate the player. The next up thing are buildings. There were 2 buildings I never built simply because they never added worthwhile benefits to my empire expansion. Those are primarily the market, but also the research quarters. Markets were completely useless, even when I picked a civilization that focused on the generation of gold and their uniqueness identified in that quarter building. Not entirely sure how they'll balance these outside of simply buffing their benefits. Simply increasing their buffs will just create an imbalance and exploit in other areas, so I will be paying close attention to those when I can play again to see how they perform. The last few big areas of balancing have some pretty huge implications, especially for aggressive militarists and aggressive expansionists. First, a look at cultures. Some of these cultures, cough cough, the Huns, were unbelievably exploitable, both in the eras they were deployed in and in the unit spam they could generate. Amplitude is looking at rebalancing for multiple cultures, their legacy traits, their emblematic quarters, and their emblematic units to see how to still allow for fun gameplay, but not cause certain cultures to completely overshadow the others, including seeing how to limit the emblematic quarters to make them still unique, but avoiding competition with the general quarters in cities. The second area is both a limit to cities and armies in the form of a soft cap, where if the player goes over them, penalties will occur. Now, the article didn't go into specifics in any way, shape, or form, but I honestly cannot see this going badly. It's a perfect counter to the Hunnic horse spam that we saw, and will allow for a more natural evolution of Empire expansion that isn't just a huge race to grab everything as quick as you can because you can do it. Anytime a game can make a player choose between multiple scenarios for the best solution, it creates just a strategic layer of depth. There was a little strategic depth in Lucy OpenDev in these areas. I took whatever territory I wanted and rarely thought about choosing one over the other, for the most part. And that is also because sieges were incredibly easy, which is the perfect segue into the last big balance change. An easy siege meant I could just storm the place with a single army and take over cities with ease, grabbing the areas I couldn't expand into with little problems. Amplitude didn't give any details into how they're balancing this, just that it is indeed being looked at. Overall, with these changes, I can definitely see the pace of the game slowing down a decent bit. It was easy to blaze through 150 turns in a couple of hours when I played on my own. That shouldn't happen in a 4x strategy game. And I'm very eager to see the details of this long list of balances to see if these things have actually been worked over as much as it's implied. Diplomacy was an area of decently high praise for me. The new options Humankind presents, from crises to border skirmishes and the benefits of alliances, was definitely refreshing. However, the experience of diplomacy was left wanting in many areas, about all of which is addressed in the article. Notifications were very difficult to reason out who was addressing who and in what manner. The dialogue was a bit wonky at times and often didn't match the span of the relationship as a whole. Relationships did not really seem to matter in the game, as several times I could not grab an alliance with someone close to me that I've never been at war with, and we've had good relations the whole time. And the UX as a whole, from figuring out war negotiations to trade not working properly in any sense, things of that nature, again, they're unique to the genre, but the execution was off. All of the things that I just mentioned are being worked on, and if Amplitude gets this section of the game nailed down, it will go miles towards creating a massively better experience with the game. I used diplomacy mainly for war because the economic and peaceful side wasn't fleshed out yet. It's that side that I'm eager to use and figure out again, and I do hope that Amplitude has spent a good deal of time refining it. It will allow for more playstyles to be valid and playable for the community, which only adds to replayability, and therefore adding a longevity to gameplay within said community. My favorite part of any game to talk about at length is UI and UX, so it makes me incredibly happy that Amplitude added this in their article. In a way, I feel like it was crafted just for me, and I'm grateful for it, even if it wasn't. While again the foundation of the UI and the UX in Humankind was very well done, its execution was not quite there, and Amplitude has taken more steps beyond just fixing it by adding new features into it as well. Fame objective pop-ups will let you know when you're close to grabbing an error star, eliminating the need to go into another menu just to look at where you are at. It's a simple gesture, but goes a good ways towards preventing menu pop-up. Territory names and region splitting are also new additions. New names will be generated for every region in an effort to help players locate certain events or cities, make demands from the map, and hopefully that extension will be implemented into the diplomacy side as well, harkening back to the whole I don't know what I'm trading for thing that I mentioned in my critique video. Region splitting will allow you to actually detach a territory from a city, say to reattach it to another city that it might better serve. This is one that I never really thought of, but it's a cool idea that they clearly saw as a need based on the feedback. The rest of the list just goes into various areas where more detail was required. Your notification bar at the bottom right, better battle prediction and battle-related information, along with improvements to the different management screens and ideology meters, which were two of the bigger UI UX areas that needed some love based on my video. I will never complain when a developer chooses to improve the UI or the UX of their game. I am on the side of a brand new player when it comes to strategy games, and as such, I always try to think from that perspective. If the UI UX of a game is unclear or difficult to understand, you run the risk of losing new players right from the beginning, so I am always in favor of polishing in that area of development. Overall, there's loads that the team has been working on in the quiet of these last few months, all thanks to your feedback. Right now, you're looking at just a few stats Amplitude compiled from the last OpenDev, and it is a truly monumental task looking at the feedback from over 26,000 games played. I know this in part was the reason for the delay, and I cannot blame them one bit for doing so. I know I've mentioned it a few times already, but I am terribly excited to play the next OpenDev to see the work that they have completed thus far. A delayed game can only mean more polish, and I've never seen a delayed game that was worse off than when it would have originally been released. So here's to hoping that it is indeed an improvement and just what the next OpenDev holds for the community. That will be all on my video detailing what has changed since Lucy OpenDev. I hope that it gives you a bit of hope for the future of Humankind. If you did enjoy it, be sure to subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up, and be sure to leave a comment for the Amplitude team to enjoy, as I know they'll be looking at the video. If you've yet to purchase the game, my Nexus GG link is in the description. Show your support for myself and pre-order it from there. I would very much appreciate it. And if you are interested in watching live gameplay of the OpenDev, go and follow my Twitch channel so you get notified when I'm live with the next build. And again, hopefully Twitch drops will be enabled. Thank you so very much for watching. This is Havoc, and I will see you all in the next one.